This is where the fun begins.
The fate of the galaxy is now in your hands. With the new LEGO Star Wars Slave 1, you can load Captain Solo, arm your weapon systems, man the cockpit, and take off with the most feared ship in the galaxy. But watch out for rebel ships. No matter the enemy, no matter the firepower, you control the action. With the new LEGO Star Wars collection.
Did you miss me?
Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm just having a impromptu live stream to chat with you guys. I'm still partly in my uniform for teaching at the local gym where I teach at. But going further into the Force and midichlorians, how the Force works, I found a video I need to bring up the actual information in the archives where this information come from. So I wanted to talk more about this, and I am going to do a separate video that can share the history of midichlorians and the Force. However, I haven't had a chance to fully sit down and do my research to put it together. And so I just wanted to come here and talk. And then I also have my internet got recalibrated, I guess you can say, and new equipment that came in and stuff and just got done. And so here I am. I want to test the internet out with you guys and have a chat before the rest of my day gets busy, because I do teach again later on. Brandon is here, another channel member. What's up? I would love to talk Star Wars right now, but duty calls. I'll catch it on the rewatch. Thank you so much for tuning in on the replay. Let me know once you come in. And those who are tuning in, please hit the like button. And thank you, Soul Assassin, for being here. Is it Thursday already? Damn. Just an impromptu live stream. Sorry. But if if you're tuning in, please hit the like button, share that we're live. And this is not going to be a long live. I just wanted to come in here and chat a little bit from what I found. I believe it's now my responsibility as a Star Wars fan under George Lucas' era of Star Wars to do another video, not it being live, but doing a documentary or research video for you guys regarding the midichlorians and the Force, for what's going on here with the Star Wars lore and how people are still not fully understanding exactly the focus of what George Lucas meant about the midichlorians and the Force, how it all works, all of this. So I know we talked about this yesterday on CAF Chat, but like I said, I have more information, and I'll be pulling that up in the resource because I do have the actual book myself. Let's see here. And Batsy Universe is here. Thank you for coming in and tuning in last minute. And then Zagrot 315, hello. Darth Spantum, what's up? And Jim the Despot. How come these come out when I'm at work? I don't know, but thank you for tuning in. It was just impromptu. I wasn't planning that, or wasn't really fully planning or scheduling anything today. Very impromptu. And I already read that, but just going to reiterate this. It's over here, this side. All right. And we're not going to talk about that. Let's see here. Yep, exactly. No, he's not. He's in the past. Exactly. It's over and done with. Whatever problems he has, it's strictly just on him, and that's all I'm gonna say. Bygones be bygones. Moving forward, moving ahead. Bama is here. Hello. And then, oh no, she has the book. Run. Yeah, I have a lot of source books, but I just wanted to share here. And since I brought up the midichlorians regarding the Force and people misunderstanding the Force and what the midichlorians means, how your Force sensitivity determines is determined by the midichlorians, basically. That I'm like, for whatever reason, being a prequel era baby, I guess you can say, is a negative connotation. I am not. I already shared on Twitter. I was born in 1977, so I was born in that golden year of when Star Wars came out. In fact, Star Wars is just slightly older than me, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. Yeah, so I am the age of Star Wars, A New Hope. Basically, we share the same year of birth, basically, and but as for PT era babies being a negative connotation, I don't see it that way. I've never seen myself as this original trilogy purist. I'd never seen myself as a PT purist, maybe an EU elite. But what got me into Star Wars, and many of you guys know my story, is that I wanted to know what was going to happen with our three heroes, right? Especially Luke Skywalker. That's what got me into the EU, right? So if I said Star Wars, I meant the EU. And that being said, with the PT, what got me into the PT was I wanted to know what happened with Vader slash Anakin. What made him fall? What was the reason he fell? I wanted to know that story. I was very curious. I love lore and continuity, basically. I want to know what else George had planned to share with us and get us going with that part of the story. And I remember, and I'm just going to get into it. I remember, like, after I watched Revenge of the Sith and seeing his turn, him going dark and just knowing about the OT and stuff like that. I remember lying on the couch. Literally, I was lying on my couch after I watched it, after the movies. And I was like, why did you have to do that, Anakin? Don't you know that your actions is what caused your wife's death, and and the galaxy to fall to darkness, and the kids to go off and be separate? I mean, I was just going through all this like stuff going on in my head, and that's, I guess you could say, that's what you call passion for Star Wars. Is like you're sitting down like, holy shit, Anakin, if you only knew, like, if you only knew that visions of the future through the Force is just a one way of the Force revealing what's going on, but it's not the true, or the true way. And I was going through with all the stuff in my head during that time. I could still remember it. Just like when I watched Empire Strikes Back and seeing Han frozen in carbonite, I still remember how I felt with that. And leaving that situation, I'm like, what the hell? Like, is he going to live? He's going to survive, kind of deal. So we get caught up in the lore. No matter PT, OT, EU, we get caught up in the moment. Another moment I got really caught up in is when Chewie died. And seeing Han Solo basically lose his mind, blaming his son, leaving, separating from his wife temporarily because he just could not fathom his best friend, his, he lost Duala, which basically was his caretaker. She's Chewie. She's not Chewie. She's Wookiee, sorry. But anyways, she was his caretaker. And so that's how he got to know about the Wookiee life and all of that, the language, all of that and stuff. And having Chewie come into his life in such a young age, and being like, and Chewie basically, serving his life debt to him, seeing him lose Chewie, what he gone through and stuff like that, that was even more deeper than Anakin Solo's death for me. But everybody has their own way of what gets them drawn in with the emotions and the story of going on. And like, the OT is the end of some very dark times. So if they said that the Star Wars didn't have dark times, they did. The New Jedi Order, hell, that's the dark times, like one of the darkest times in the EU lore. It was so dark some people couldn't even fathom reading it because they just wanted the happily ever after. And we lost a lot of people in that storyline. So it's compelling stories like this where people truly do die if they get more than likely get impaled by a lightsaber. But people can survive if there is proper medical, but then their recovery, blah blah blah, is the recovery the operations, back to all the treatments that they have to get, hinders them, their performance, their activities for a long time. And so we're not seeing that in the lore with Star Wars, Disney Star Wars, I mean. And I think that's kind of like puts myself in a spot of questioning what's going on here and why. And this goes into the Force. Because of that, what Ahsoka said, and I'm privy to it now because I've been shared the information and all this other stuff when we did talk about it. And then saying that, oh, well, they're honoring what George said and did. And then, but when you listen to his explanation about the Force, he's explaining the Force and how it's invisible and it flows through us, all of that. That doesn't mean Force potential. That just means the Force binds life together and it flows through matter, through biological matter and stuff. And it's one of the key components of life. And then when you get into the scientific of it, which is how the body uses the Force, it's midichlorians. Midichlorians is the conduit. It's like you have, like, for example, you have to be plugged into the Force to use it. Midichlorians is the plug. However, depending on the voltage number will determine I have a screen on my back when my cat is behind me now. But depending on the voltage number, our midichlorians will determine how much you're going to have the power to use it. And people don't understand that. And so when people are now sharing Star Wars series video, I have nothing against him. He has his own way of liking Star Wars, and I'm not going to get into all of that. But because they're sharing his video out, and, because he has such a huge following, people are believing that that's the only way the Force is working. No, George explains that everybody has the Force flowing through them. If they can get training, they can utilize it. But then they're forgetting the aspect of midichlorians. And I'm going to go ahead and share that video. But let me go ahead and check out what you guys are saying in the chat. I know a bunch of you guys just dropped in on me and is now listening through my passion of Star Wars and going into this topic here. Prickles Defense Force, let's go. I grew up with those movies and have fine memories of them. Yes. Thank you for tuning in. Hell, please hit that like button and share the stream out. Yes. And Becky Brown is here. Hey there. Long time to see. And then another channel member here, Melissa Lord. What's up? Hey, girl, O.G.Starwars. And what you doing, girl? What you doing? I'm glad you're here with us. And fond memories. I mean, fond memories. I was born in 1980, laugh out loud. So I'm a bit older than you. That's okay. We're about around the same age. Hail, Becky. Yeah, so everybody's saying hello. And let's see, I'm the same age as Empire. Nice. Yep. 90s kid. What's up? Woo woo. Yeah. So everybody questions like, but you're really that old? Well, yes, I am, but people don't believe it. But I guess you could say genetics. But anyways, I don't have no makeup right now. So like I said, I came from teaching yoga and working out and stuff. And I decided to do a live here to discuss, before I do the video, a little bit more on the midichlorians. And I know there was more information out than what I just shared with you guys on Twitter yesterday. So I wanted to share that video. Becky says, Soul, I was born in 1985. Nice. I grew up with the prequel EU with Anakin, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan. I didn't really care about what happened after Return of the Jedi because that wasn't for me. And that's fine. Everybody has their era or the time frame of the history of Star Wars that they like. Some people prefer the Old Republic more than anything else, and that's okay. Some people, again, the prequel era, Clone Wars era kind of deal, and that's fine too. So, more power to you. That's cool. I like that. And whenever someone is starting the EU, I ask them, what, sorry, I was moving my cat. You didn't even see the cat. What era did you like? So like, and I'll let them know all the eras and what movies are in those era, I guess you could say. So I can kind of turn them to a place where they're familiar with and that they like. So they'll have more enjoyment reading in that era. So, so that's how I direct people. So many people do it differently. Some people are like, oh, you got to start with Thrawn trilogy. I don't agree with that, but I'm the one that says that Thrawn trilogy is overrated, but that's just me. Don't leave the stream now. Rodimus Prime, another channel member. Hey, OG, and thank you for joining. Soul Assassin says, I remember when Revenge came out, all the dudes were fighting with makeshift lightsabers in the school parking lot. I remember when, so I'm showing my age. So it was like when Revenge of the Sith came out, I was a young adult. So we'll say that. But I remember kids literally like, okay, lightsabers are back in style now. I mean, I grew up with that, but I was an OT kid, I guess you can say. When we really didn't have lightsabers, like most of the time, by the time we got one, we basically ended up breaking it. But anyways, from using it too much. But we take those long Christmas rolls, the cardboard rolls, and use those and stuff, or even branches. So we made with what we could to play, and that's the beauty of it. And Batu says, hey gang, says I wanted to know about before and during the George Lucas 1 through 6 movies. The only stories I read after Return of the Jedi was about Kate Skywalker. So you read like 100 years after, 120 odd years after, after everything had happened. But that's a good story. I like the legacy era. Jim says, oddly enough, TCW is what inspired me to start looking into the EU universe. Somewhat ironic. Wow. I'm glad that you made that step away, and then you probably realized the contradictions. CJ says, I never liked this. Subulba got Anakin's pod racer, though. Oh, okay. Interesting. I thought that was an interesting story. Games got me into the EU. I blame Dash Rendar and Revan. Awesome. There you go. So, everybody has their own inception to the EU, whether it's through games, movies, comics, or what have you. Or even Legos, I guess you could say. Or, our characters, like, collecting the figurines. CJ says, are the Filonis destroyed Jango's helmet? There you go, yeah. Whoops, it jumped on me. All right, I'm going to get to these comments. We're going to watch the video. Like I said, this is a short and sweet video here, live stream. But I wanted to have a nice discussion with you. And I loved how it started out with just talking about Star Wars and the love of it, what got us into it, all of that. Becky says, when I first saw Chewbacca, I wanted a friend like him, especially in kindergarten. I did try to get Alice Cooper to come over, and I could bring him to show and tell. That's an interesting story, Becky. Alice Cooper. Louis says, I not liking the PT is mostly due to not understanding that the OT followed the Saturday matinee formula, while the PT are like silent movies, which is also why Jar Jar is so physical and over the top. Well, I like your analogy with that. Okay, let's see here. OG, what's your favorite Jedi Apprentice book? Oh boy. I'm gonna have to reread that because I don't remember quite. I liked it. It's a good storyline for that era. We get more developments. I'll get back to you on that. That's just like the lightsabers. I never really gave what hilt I like from 2 weeks ago. I think I'm gonna stick with Luke Skywalker's for the hilt. Sorry about that. It's all and the likes, like novels I like sometimes sometimes change depending on what era I'm reading or if I'm revisiting the story and I realize there's something I missed. So that is always evolving. So I need to do a top 10. I think I'll do a top 10 for you guys. A top 10 in the regular novels and then a top 10 in the short stories and the young readers, young adult ones. I'll do all that. Darth Spantum says, Star Wars theory is a fence sitter. I'm a Star Wars theory fan, little bit of bias because he's a Canadian. Yeah, that's right. He's Canadian. Yeah, I have family that are Canadian. And this goes back into my family history with Sitting Bull when he retreated up into Canada. We had some family stay up there after he left. So that's where you have the Sioux reserves there. Yeah, so I was born 95, so I'm young. Nice. I was extremely young when I saw Phantom Menace in the theaters, so I've been a Star Wars fan since forever. Yeah, for your entire life. That's how I felt too. I felt like I've been a fan for my entire life, from since I could remember. 1999. Yeah. I remember when we were coming into 1999 and they thought that, every like society was going to fail and all that stuff, all that controversy, I guess you can say. I was born 97, so gore some reason look like I am in the early 30s, but be my facial hair. Okay. I remember loving the young adult novels about Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Boba Fett. There's some great stories out there. And even in the series, in these great stories, I was gonna say, there's gonna be some novels you're gonna be like, what was he thinking? Like it was going so well until here. I get what they're trying to do, but what were they thinking? Kind of deal. That's even New Jedi Order. There's some novels in the New Jedi Order. I'm like, okay, it's there. It moves the story, but it's not the strongest. And I don't favor it. Sometimes I'll even skip over because I already know the storyline. But when I'm introducing people to the EU, I tell them to read everything, even if it seems like a bad story or it's like whatever. Just read through it because there's going to be something you're going to learn in that. CJ says, Revenge of the Sith, I remember the most. Attack of the Clones, my memory is foggy and I cannot remember, but I know I went to the theater for it. Yeah, that's what happens when you're young like that. But you kind of remember, but it's only just a slight sliver of memory and you have a feeling, but that's it. Yeah, I understand. Let's see here. All right, so let's get into everybody's all sharing their stories and stuff, and this is what I love here. Let me just read that before I take it down or bring it back up and reread it or read it to out loud. I need to slow my mind down. Okay, I honestly like every era, but I'm more into Clone Wars Civil War era than any other one, including EU related content. So you like the Civil War, the Clone Wars, and Dark Times, I guess I'm guessing. So let me go ahead and bring this up. Okay, so if you know me, when I start talking about a subject and I still research it, even though I share more sources, I share sources, I still dive in, I still research to make sure if there's something I missed or to make sure if I was slightly wrong, I can go ahead and share that. I try to be honest and as transparent as I can. And so this morning when I woke up and I was getting ready to go work out at the gym and then teach, I was like, I'm going to type in midichlorians on YouTube. And I found, oddly, I found, stop playing with my hair, kitty. Oddly, I found Star Wars series video on the midichlorians. And this was like a few months ago. So this wasn't too long ago. It wasn't too long ago whatsoever. So, but it was way before this Ahsoka show, as you guys know. And if you guys seen his video, he's like, oh, they're right. Anybody could be a Jedi. And he's like praising Filoni for honoring George, forgetting all about the midichlorians. And since I seen that, and then another person's post, I, brought that subject up about the midichlorians, which stirred a lot of trouble with a lot of people because, I remember midichlorians. People are like, that's ruining the Force. Now it's scientific. Now there's no mystery behind the Force, kind of deal, kind of talk. And myself as a young adult, and I'm thinking I love to analyze things. As I said before, my cat is attacking my hair. Nail. Meow. Okay. So anyways, so as a young adult, even then, at the time, I think I was, the time the PT was coming out, I was working in as a background investigator. So that goes into more of my analytical talk. Becky Brown, all I can say is Cade Skywalker. So I already, like when you get into a profession where you have a huge interest, love for it, it's just fun. And, you want to learn more. And the same here with Star Wars, with this and Star Wars, I love it so much. I want to learn more. I want to provide more. I want to share more. I want to get more of this out to you guys to enjoy and love it just like I do. So I was a background investigator during that time. Being an analytical person, I wanted to dig deeper. I wanted to provide more evidence, more proof, or even at any point prove myself wrong. Maybe I was thinking something was wrong. Maybe I'm not thinking this is right. And I came across this video. And I was like, holy shit, did he forget about this video? All to simp for Filoni. And I'm not here to bash or anything, but I'm just sharing this video to prove my point with midichlorians. But then it made me think about, oh my God, so I'd hate to be the one who became hypocritic about something I shared and then contradicting something that I said previously. And that's his problem to deal with, not mine now. But I'm going to go ahead and share this right here. And we're going to get into this about what midichlorians is. It's in the resource book I have, just like Batu said, oh no, she's got the book. Yes, I do. Because I want to be prepared to discuss with accuracy what I'm talking about. Other than saying, oh, George said this, so this doesn't mean. And many times I've proven myself, given the resources, and people still just want to just attach themselves to a single paragraph quote that George said, or 2 lines, or just basically a quote. So here we go.
Personal force and the cosmic force. Personal force and the cosmic force. The personal force is the energy field created by our cells interacting and doing things while we are alive. When we die, energy is assimilated into the cosmic force. If we have enough midichlorians in our body, we can have a certain amount of control over our personal force and learn how to use it. Like the Buddhist practice of being able to walk on hot coals. Some people can't because they just don't have as many midichlorians. That's just genetics. Personal force and the cosmic force.
All right. So
the
there
personal
you go.
force.
There you go. So it's about the midichlorians. The midichlorians is what is the conduit. It's like it plugs you into the force. And just like I said, and my analogy might make sense to you guys, I don't know. So it's like plugging yourself into the force, but it depends on the voltage, like the power of the voltage and what you can receive from the force determines if you're able to use it. It's genetic. And a person who does not have that many midichlorians can't use it. Yeah, energy theory. That's why I'm using the plug-in, the electrical plug-in. It's like if you're plugged into the force, your midichlorians is that plug-in. You're plugged into the force, you're able to use it. Now the voltage too determines, like how many midichlorians determines. If you don't have that many, just like George said in this interview, and this is the archives, Star Wars archives, episode 1 through 3. If you don't have that many midichlorians, you're not going to be able to use it. Imagine that. So I'm going to go ahead and rewind or fast forward to that one area. Let's go.
Like the Buddhist practice of being able to walk on hot coals. Some people can't because they just don't have as many midichlorians. That's just genetics. Personal force and the cosmic force.
Because they just don't have that many midichlorians. It's just genetic. That's what George said. Yes, there is training, but the point is that once you're able, you have to have that determination, and I get what they're saying with determination and discipline. So I wouldn't say determination, I would say more it's discipline. So you have to be disciplined to be able to hone in on your skills to further use the force. And some people, it's like, oh, well, if someone has very little midichlorians, then all they need is training to learn how to use it more efficiently, or you learn how to use it. Well, midichlorians don't increase on training. That's not how it works. So if you have very little, no matter how much training you have, you're not going to be able to use the force. That's what's being said here. And then you remember Theory mentioning he did this video on midichlorians. Cool. Yeah. So going fast forwarding now to this time here, he is praising Filoni for what he's doing about what Ahsoka's saying about the Force, and that everybody has the Force, and anybody can use it. And that's not the fact. Forgetting about the midichlorians, forgetting about this part of what George developed. And George had this idea with the wills and midichlorians since he started writing Star Wars. And what he didn't do was use it for the OT, but he gave explanations about the Force. And so I thought that was interesting. And then finally, when he's able, and then he talked to his staff, he talked to the staff um, who were helping expand Star Wars into the comics and the EU and stuff, and gave them information on how to explain the Force, how to explain the midichlorians, all of that. Once the PT came around and the opportunity for the PT to come around is when he was like, I can use the explanation for midichlorians now. And I know he was a little bit like taken back that some people didn't care for the midichlorians because they're like, oh, it's science. It takes away the mysteries of the Force. No. Going back to what I said. No, it doesn't. Scientifically, for humans, for species, for biology, it gives an explanation how they are conduits to use it. However, not everybody has the same Force abilities. Not everybody has the same, capabilities, I guess, Force abilities, capabilities, or what have you. That, and they don't know exactly where the Force comes from, how exactly one can have more abilities than the other, and all of that. So it's still a mystery. It's still something significantly a mystery. Like Cornhorn, for example, is a great example if you don't know about him. He doesn't have telekinesis, but he's strong in the Force, of course, because he came in as a Jedi, now a Master, and he has other Force abilities that make up, make up for his lack of a certain Force ability. And excuse me, whoa! I don't know why my voice wants to crack up now. Holy heck. All right. And so there you go. And then you have only certain people that can do Shatterpoint, for example. And you also have certain people that can do Force projection, for example. So many people and the ones with the exception of to the rule is a Luke, an Anakin, and maybe the grandkids. But that is, again, exception to the rule. Anakin was made of the Force, conceived through midichlorians, basically the Force midichlorians, and his offspring and their offspring right there has a bit of that inheritance. And so those guys are the exception to the rule. But when you look at every other Jedi, there's abilities that they can all use similarly, and some that they can't, making the Force unique and the Force beings unique. Now, were there Jedi who were very weak in the Force that were brought in as Jedi? Yes, that's in the EU, and that's also, I guess, in Disney. I don't know much. And I think that if you guys are watching Ahsoka, I'm not giving any excuses and whatever. Maybe that's where they're going to go with her. I don't know. But that's not my point. My point is that people are excusing away the direction Filoni's taken the Force and how it's being used, and now everybody can have the Force with what that one information that George shared and what Ahsoka said. Forgetting about midichlorians. Forgetting that it is, hey, Robert DeCosta's here, hello. Forgetting about, how midichlorians play a big role in who is a Force sensitive and how it can be used. So let me see what you guys have to say. Let me see. I don't remember where I left off at in the comments, but you guys are just jamming with the comments. Okay, let me see. There's a lot of mystery still surrounding the Force, even if we know now know that it speaks to living beings through midichlorians, right? The midichlorians use it. The Force is not magic 100. So it's an energy field. George did mention it's like God, it's unseen. So Who knows? So, but as a conduit, the midichlorians make it a conduit through a being. It looks like magic. I guess you can say, but it's not magic because we're not looking at wizards. They are not really wizards in a sense, in a traditional sense. So like the space wizards and laser swords bullshit, but they're not really. So let's see here. There's a lot of mystery still surrounding the Force, even if we know. I already read that. Sorry. She got the books. She got the receipts. Hell yeah, I do. I certainly do. Potter is magic. The problem with the Force is it's scientifically proven. Midichlorians give validity, correct? And I think that's where people who did not understand George's approach during the PT time, who did not like the concept of midichlorians, they're the ones with the problem. And then they're the ones who are going around using, oh, you're a PT baby as a negative connotation, like that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. What I will say about that, being from the OT era, I guess you can say, is I know my lore. And if that's a bad thing, then so what? I'd rather be bad than be blindlessly consuming. So yeah. So let's see here. Energy theory. Yeah, I already read that. 16. I don't know what the 16 is. Maybe people who are tuning in. And Mighty Orbots, thank you for coming in. And Darth Phantom, wow. Yeah. And check out my community page, you guys. And I did have to crack down on someone in my community page because we're not there to discuss Disney, Star Wars, and nor shame anybody who has discussed it outside the community and shared their dislike about the direction it's going. So again, if you're coming to the community, it's strictly George Lucas era. We're not talking or discussing Disney, Star Wars in any way. It's all about sharing the lore and stuff and sharing the heart of Star Wars. And we already know that it's George Lucas era of Star Wars from 1976 all the way to 2012. I remember Theory mentioning he did this. Oh yeah, I reread that. Jeez, okay, I already went past Becky Brown, and I'm gonna have to get into that book too. I really, again, I have the Audible. I think it's unabridged, so I might share a couple of clips from that in those scenes. I really like how Darth Plagueis described midichlorians. Yes, and so I might have to, allude. And the fun thing about that is that George did get involved in that book as well. So, people try to claim that I said George was involved with every single EU story. No. He did get busy at times, and he had designated people to do that for him and knew exactly what George wanted, was looking for and stuff. There were times that a checklist was sent to George Lucas on the story development of the book, and then he checked out what he wanted and not wanted, made comments, and that was it. So no, he wasn't involved in every single story, but for most part, if it had to do with the characters he created through the movies that opened us up to Star Wars, he had every say in the development and the direction those characters went in the EU. Billy says he literally took mitochondria, correct, and a chloroplast, correct, to create the midichlorians. That's how animals and plants can do stuff. They convert nutrition to energy. Jedi feed off the Force and gain powers. In theory, yeah, you guys. So that's what's going on. That's what's being pointed out to by people right now. And hopefully, I don't know. I just wouldn't want to be in that situation. But hey, I mean, I think he's contradicted himself many times before. So what if there is science to it? It doesn't diminish the wonder and awe. It just gives validity to it. Yeah, I reread that one too. All right, let me see what else you guys are saying here. Robert, I'll get to your question here pretty soon. I see one that I need to pull up. Being overpowerful is just one part of the Force you need to train and build skills to use, like Darth Vitiate, who was supposedly the most powerful Sith Lord, being defeated by multiple Force user. Yes. Wasn't Obi-Wan weak in the Force too? He was, his potential, he didn't seem like he had much potential, and he ended up proving himself that he had potential. He had a lot of potential. I see that I have my little internet sign up on the side there. No. So hopefully, maybe it's just the time of the day. I don't know. But anyways, hopefully I wasn't robotic, but it seems like everything was going smooth, even in Streamlabs right now. Streamlabs, whatever. Soul Assassin, being very powerful is just one part of the Force. You need to train and build skills to use it. Like Darth, I read that one. Why did that jump when I went to click something else? Most Jedi Masters were weak compared to Obi-Wan, Windu, and Yoda. It's just not because they weren't training enough. They weren't convinced enough. It's also genetic. Yoda is the most powerful midichlorian wise, so he basically is this big huge plug, if we're going to go back to that analogy, with huge voltage power that could probably power a whole friggin' planet, I guess you can say, if you want to use that analogy. So like there's different levels, I guess you could, like I said, the voltage count, there's different midichlorian count on how powerful you can be. You can't just be weak and trained to be strong in a sense, because it doesn't up your midichlorians. It may strengthen already what your body can produce, but it doesn't increase it. And I think people need to realize that as well. So who knows what Disney Star Wars is going to come up with next. Let's see, what time is it? All right, we're coming up on our hour. We got 20 more minutes to go. Like I said, this is going to be short. Yes, O.G.Starwars, she gets it. I hate the space wizards and laser swords. Yes. Obi-Wan was the most rejected to be Jedi and sent to the Agricourt. Yeah, Qui-Gon literally found him there. Right. That's a great story, Obi-Wan story. If you want to learn more about Obi-Wan, one of his stories there is that he didn't seem like he was potential or fit to be a Jedi. Sometimes people look at the character and if they are fit to be a Jedi, their consolation prize basically is going to the Agricourt if they are not Jedi material even after being brought in. So I find that kind of funny. In a sense, it's like, oh, well, you'll get this prize because you don't qualify to be a Jedi, Padawan, or learner, or whatever. Force user, Force power is not equal to wisdom or understanding of the Force, correct? Yes, OG, I keep telling canon trolls that about George Lucas. He could have denied everything. He still approved it. And then Kenny the man is in the house. I am going through the novelizations of episode 1 through 3 with the Audible. Really enjoying it this so far. Nice. Let's see here. You can't teach speed. Laugh out loud. You could just, never mind. I was going to go into a negative part of that. And I was like, you just take it up the nose, but or eject it. But that's a different speed. Sorry, you guys. I just went there. There are no wizards in Star Wars. No, there's not. That's just a negative stereotype that these people like to throw out to us people who have knowledge about Star Wars and talk about all the time. No matter how much you train by running, it won't make you fast like using Bolt. Yeah, I agree. At least the Sith give you a chance no matter how powerful you are. Yeah. Because you could be like the Brotherhood of Darkness. Like if you were master material, you were put in the army. So you had a place to go. You had potential. They were going to use you no matter what. Yeah. But I'm just using Brotherhood of Darkness. But speed is bad. Okay. Yes, it is bad. Yeah. So I just wanted to touch up on this a little bit more. I plan on, doing an in-depth video where I have to find some of this information shared here in the Star Wars Archive, episode 1 through 3, which it's a thick book, you guys. The thing is heavy. It's like you can knock someone out with it. It's not heavy. You can use it as a weapon. But so I'm going to locate some of this information in there. There's so much to read because they have each development of, of each episode in that book. And if anybody knows the chapters they're on, the chapters weren't given in this video of his, or I would be able to find it right away. So are the pages, not chapters. But anyways, let me know. And then I also found resources from behind the scenes and stuff like that, with George talking about that. We also have the scripts of what Star Wars was called in the beginning, the Wills, which is also evident that he was planning on doing something more cosmic force-like, I guess you can say, and expanding on the Force lore, as well as the story of these people who are affected by the Force, the Skywalkers and stuff. And then his trilogy, people don't realize this, his trilogy was going to be the Wills, not in a sequel trilogy to, what was left off after Anakin was redeemed and Luke now becoming a Jedi. His trilogy was going to be the Wills and expand more on the Force with that. So imagine that. Yeah, would it have been well received? George hinted around that, probably not, but I would be curious about it. I can't say I would like it or not because I've never seen any indications on or any notes about it from him. So I can't say if it's going to be good or bad. But again, I didn't have a problem with midichlorians. So before we leave here, would you be happy to have seen the Wills type trilogy after Return of the Jedi, which kind of expands more on the Force and the galaxy that he has written about? So would you have watched it? Would you have liked it? Let me know before we leave here. I'm going to go ahead and start ending this here. So the Wills, would you have welcomed the Wills trilogy from George? All right, let's see here. Hey, OG, I was talking to some people and they came up with the theory that the audience is the Wills. We are watching and knowing everything that happens in the galaxy. What's your opinion? Interesting analogy. Because the Wills is ones that are the ones that little creatures, whatever, that lives in these mitochondria, or not mitochondria, the midichlorians, and we're observing and using and are consuming the Force, basically. So that's interesting. Maybe. Because it's the will of the Force, right? The wills of the Force. Interesting. The wheels of the Force. Wrap your head around that. Whatever George Lucas' sequel trilogy plan would have been way better than the Disney trilogy. Yes. Luke and Jaina, Kira, exploring the nature of the Force would have been so cool. And I don't even know if you would even have Luke, Han, and Leia and the offspring. Who knows? Yes. Anything but the ST. Laugh out loud. Yeah. So the STDT Disney trilogy, yeah, we get it. Was Earth in the EU? There was speculation, fan theory, but I don't think so. Let's see here. All right, you guys. So thank you for listening to me and testing out my internet and going through the rest of this conversation that we talked about from yesterday. I will still put out a video here pretty soon on that. Gathering all my information. I got to get off here and start planning for my class and getting ready for tonight. And then you're going to catch me on the spacing tonight, 8:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Open Airlock Policies channel. That's Tim. And so join us there. We have a lot to discuss there. We always pay attention, observe what's going on in Hollywood, around us, social media, and bring it to you real. Not sugarcoating anything. and talking. So come in there, join the conversation with us on the space scene, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for hanging out with me and this last minute impromptu live stream. And hopefully you learned more about the Force and how the Force is used by these beings in the Star Wars galaxy. So thank you again for tuning in. And I will catch you guys on Twitter tonight on Open Airlock Policy's channel. And you guys have a good day, and may the Force be with you. Till I see you next time.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure if this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
Another happy landing.